Hello. A different kind of video, the Saturday Partnership Podcast. Many of you have asked me over the last 10, 11 weeks a bunch of questions about how are all the organisations doing that we either partner with, that we give to, that we support, that we send things to, that we try and serve, either in our community or across the world. And trying to squeeze little bits of information into a Sunday gathering or an update video. What we thought we'd do is we would try and do a regular, almost a Saturday partnership podcast, an interview with the organisations that we as Riverside Elim are partnering with. And then you get to hear firsthand how people are doing in their situations, all those organisations that we are partnering with. This first one is we partner with an organisation called Hope and Kindness over in Africa. And they're still living in a coronavirus world as well. We have continued to support them throughout the coronavirus crisis and have done for many years as a church. And so you're going to hear now an interview that I did with both Terry and Judy from Hope and Kindness. Bear in mind, they are over there in Africa. Their internet connection's probably not as good as ours. There are bits where it sort of stutters and starts again, but bear with it because it's worth hearing what they're saying. So I really hope you enjoy this first Saturday Partnership Podcast as you find out just what's been going on from Terry and Judy of what's going on in Hope and Kindness. We are recording. So hello, welcome to the Friday Partnership Podcast. Why is it a Friday Partnership Podcast? It's a podcast that will go on Friday, and it's with people that we partner with. And as you can see, our first one is with Terry and Judy from Hope and Kindness. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Steve, good to see you.
Good to see you too. So thank you for agreeing to do this. So people who are watching this, some of this might know lots about Hope and Kindness. Some people watching this might not know anything about it at all. So why don't you tell us a bit about yourselves, where you are and what you're doing?
Okay, well, at the moment, we're in my office with the crack down the wall behind us. We're in a very rural part of the west of Kenya. We're not very far away from Lake Victoria, about 7 kilometres away. And we live on a compound with all of our school buildings, our dormitories. And at the moment, you can't see them, obviously, but there's about 30 people milling around outside because we're staying with them at the moment. And we first came out here in 2002.
We did. We came out here in 2002 when HIV had really ravaged this community. There were literally thousands of orphans, and we just came to do our small part in actually creating a home first and foremost for some of those children. And then we started to see what school life looked like in this part of Kenya too, and felt our children needed a safer, kinder environment than what we were seeing. And then we discovered lots of children were being constantly chased from school for fees. So that began first class, a nursery class, in a primary school that is now a class. A school of 9 classes. And
a high school that's got 4, like primary schools, effectively like 1 standard 8 in a nursery class. And then the high school, they start Form 1 is the same as Year 9 in the UK. And all of our Form 4s should be doing public exams in November, but our school's been shut for, 11 weeks now? 12 weeks. So we've had no student pupils. Yeah. So we got the first coronavirus cases here in the middle of March, and the government immediately shut the schools down, which was a sensible thing to do. But it means that the schools that we have, as Judy said, there's a lovely saying in Kenya about how to grow things. It's the way they build houses and all sorts of stuff, slowly by slowly. So as you drive around Kenya, you'll see like foundations, and then you drive back like 6 months later and like the first floor's gone up. And our schools have really grown like that. So we started off the schools in 2002, actually in a house very much the same as the one that we currently live in, which has got basically 3 smallish rooms, and we had 3 classes in there. And as we needed to add a class, fortunately, God was keeping the pace and sending classrooms ahead of us. So we've kind of built classrooms a step at a time. So as we said, at the moment we have a nursery ECD classroom, 8 classrooms in the primary school, and then we've got 4 forms in the high school. And that's like the main work that we do, really. Judy and I were both teachers before we came out to Kenya, so it seemed like a very natural step for us. If anybody's actually listening that's thought, if God or Boris ever lets anybody out or into the country again, that they're being called to missionary work abroad, I would just say, if you feel that that's a really strong calling and you're sure it's of God, go, because it's amazing. We didn't actually have that we were going to come and work with orphans with this lady called Pat, and we'd be here for 12 months. Apart from that, there wasn't really a plan much, was there, really? No. But fortunately, God went ahead of us, and we've tried not to kind of step too far away from Him in the time that we've been here. So that's going to be like 18 years this year, I think. Yeah. Something like that. And it's been an amazing journey. Honestly, it really has.
I mean, that's phenomenal. Like, you had no plan, and here you are 18 years later, still there. Yeah. School has grown and grown and grown. The service you're doing out there. I mean, did you even imagine 18 years later you'd still be there?
I guess to be honest, we hoped that we would. I know you had a real struggle, didn't you, about 10 months into our stay, because I basically, my boss at Stratford High School, Stratford-on-Avon High School, was amazing actually. He said, well, you don't get an opportunity like that very often. Have a sabbatical and then come back to your job, which obviously put a finite time on our stay out here originally. And you actually had a really hard time, I think, didn't you, about 10 months into it when you realised we were going to be leaving it all.
Yes, my heart was, but yes, God has been kind. So even though we had to come away for a time and have short visits here for a number of years, now, as you know, most of our year is spent here, and yeah, it's much more than we could imagine, isn't it?
It is really.
Wow. And here you are after 18 years, I still can't get my head around it. After 18 years, and yet you're facing something, I'm assuming, that you've not faced in 18 years before in the coronavirus epidemic. Is this all new terrain for you?
No, it was very dramatic the way it arrived in Kenya. So literally, the first case was announced on a Friday afternoon. Ironically enough, a Kenyan lady travelling back from the US via London Heathrow, and came back with the virus. But that was announced Friday afternoon. By Sunday evening, we had the announcement from the government to say schools, universities, marketplaces, churches, you're all closed. Nobody's allowed in, and they introduced this curfew from 7 in the evening till 5 in the morning. So basically, we never even got a chance to say goodbye to our children before they left. It was just like gone.
All gone and done.
And then, as you say, I think, right, so what now? What next? And I don't know whether you've in the news that they were handed about that curfew. So one of our care moms, her 23-year-old nephew, literally on the second night, he's one of these young men that makes a living riding the motorbikes as a public transport system, and was a little bit late, and the police got a bit rough, and he ended up in hospital, and bless him, he died in hospital that night. Wow. And yeah, it's been a big adjustment for lots of people, and sadly, that story was repeated quite a few times, isn't it?
Oh. It's also kind of a bonkers story as well, really, though. So it's like, it's ever so hard to get a real picture for what's happening in Kenya. I think we've done, I think it's 85,000 tests in total across the whole country in the 11 or 12 weeks, with 2,000 official cases now. So it's really hard to work out what the situation in the country is actually like. And it's even more difficult because so many, there's such a young population here. I think the median age in Kenya is 20. 40% of the population are aged under 14. there's only about, was it 3% you said?
3% of over 65. So,
Wow.
so the really, the really vulnerable age group over here isn't actually in evidence as much. So I'm actually quite an old, like I'm 62 now, so I'm quite an old person in Kenya.
Oh,
So
no.
lots of people are asymptomatic. So it's like lots of these young folks really don't even know that they've got it, but they're carrying it around. So it's a worry at the moment. The cases are on the increase. They're doing slightly more tests now. So the more they test, obviously, the more that they find. I'm looking. It's absolutely bonkers. We had a visit from a lad who we actually met the first year that we were out here. He was kind of sent to stay with us out in the rurals from Kisumu city, quite about 2 hours away from us. The lady who we joined to work with out here, so he's cooling his heels with us. Nick,
CIA, where it's a hotspot.
yeah, that's right. It says it's actually hard to get in and out of CIA at the moment, apparently. He went to see his wife in hospital at that town Kissy I mentioned a few minutes ago, because she's having some treatment there, obviously. He's on his way back to Kisumu. So there's this one-man coronavirus unit wandering all over Kenya, decides he's going to drop in and see us. It was brilliant. So I think there's lots of people, for understandable reasons, kind of either aren't taking it seriously because it would be too scary to in some ways, and it's like a denial thing, but also because over here really, I know the economy's been hammered all over the world, and it dreadful in the UK, but here, so the curfew was affecting kind of kiosks, sellers in the evenings, and there was a guy, I don't think he was Kenyan, but it's a common problem over Africa. There was a guy said, like I'm really scared of the virus, but I'm even more scared of hunger because I know hunger will kill me. And that's the situation we're faced with here, really. So so far we can control people on and off our campaign. We've got these gates, and so we can try and stay as safe as we can do. As I said, it's really weird not having the students and the teachers in. But having said that, it's given us, a lot of time to do things that we would never normally have done. So, there is, if you like, an upside to it. If they do, when they do open the schools, it is slightly challenging then for me and Judy, because we've got all these potentially asymptomatic people wandering around the place. So I think that would then bring us a little bit closer to the experience that you guys have had as we kind of isolate ourselves a bit more than we're having to at the moment.
Yeah. Wow. And so how have you felt over the last 10 weeks? Has it been almost just a concern? Is it something that you've seen out your window but you've not really engaged with, or has it just been adjusting to life with no kids? How have you managed over the last 10 weeks? 12 weeks for you, sorry.
I think a bit like a lot of you, it's very up and down. You have moments where you kind of embrace busyness of our normal lives has been radically altered. Personally, I'm keeping very busy because we've got some 6 to 13-year-olds that I'm homeschooling at the moment. So there's got over a dozen of them, and Terry's been very busy with our young people, having the opportunity to disciple them a bit more.
Yeah.
But yes, there are days when to say it all seems, well, this is okay, we can do this, but then you are confronted by the reality of people who literally come to your gate begging because they are hungry and there is literally nothing for their children. And our immediate response when it first happened was, okay, how do we respond to this? Do we have our own lockdown? Do we pull up the drawbridge? Do we make ourselves safe in here and just sit this thing out? Even before the first case came to Kenya, we had already started to consider the fact that our income from the UK was potentially going to go down. And we know it will go down because we don't just rely on our sponsorship. We have a number of friends, Annie and others amongst them, who are fundraising for us all the time. And obviously those kind of events and activities are seriously compromised this year. So we'd already been talking about how we're going to manage actually reducing some of our bills, like the food bill. we actually the week before started to think, are we going to have to start reducing our portion sizes for the children that come to school? And then, of course, a week later,
We're all shut.
we're all shut, and there are no children in school to feed. But we've still got a core team of staff working full time. We've got some staff working part time. We've got teachers at home who haven't been in for 12 weeks. But they've all still got families to support and provide for. So obviously, salary bill is still to be met as well. And as I say, we've got children that we love that are out at their homes, missing their breakfast, missing their lunch, and living in homes that are really struggling because their incomes have been significantly reduced at this time. Yeah, there's.
Early on, we did a fundraise to raise funds basically for food assistance. We've got did you post them? You posted them on Facebook, I think, didn't you? Some of the pictures and
Yeah,
videos.
I mean,
What's our
said,
Facebook? Well, I can't remember our Facebook thing. Is it Open Kindness Sally? Open Kindness Sally. Anyway, we did like a big food drop on motorbikes basically, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, the background to this is that, you know, as I say, obviously, as you can imagine, we were not very comfortable about lockdown, drawbridge off, and let's try and reserve our money for when schools do open and see what we can push on, because we knew what was actually happening the other side of the gate straight away. So at that point, coincidentally enough, a friend of a member of Riverside Church actually made us a donation, £400, completely out of the blue, something, you know, just as we're looking at our money going down. This money has been gifted to us. Terry and I, the benefit of having a home in the UK, actually had a rebate on one of our energy bills or something that we didn't expect. So, okay, so all right, let's at least start by getting some food assistance out to our youngest children, because we all know our youngest children are the most vulnerable when it comes to food and the effect of missing out on meals. But having just shared that with a few people, within a week, God had multiplied that by 6, and we had enough money at the end of the week to actually get food assistance out to 150 families. So, yeah.
That was great.
So that obviously encouraged everybody enormously, because I guess, like all of you there as well, when you know there's a problem, we want to do something, don't we? Yeah. And so praise God that we were able to. And yeah, if you go look on our Facebook page, you'll see some of the evidence of people that received that.
And then the other problem, it was amazing some of it got out, because, as I said, we're in the rainy season at the moment, and when it rained, it's like steroids, really. So we've got some amazing video, I think, of our social worker Nancy's husband, who runs a piggy business, so he's got a motorbike, kind of trying to get across this flooded river and other things. So off the main road, we've got quite a good tarmac road outside our place now, thank goodness. But the side roads are still dreadful, and in the wet weather, it was a miracle that we got 3 of them on it.
It took them 2 weeks to get it all out.
2 weeks to get it all out, but it's almost like, you know, like if anybody's ever into watching westerns, you got like the Pony Express, and they go through like every living weather condition, and it was incredible. I love watching what they got out. So that was encouraging.
I think you have, as much as it's horrible and dreadful in terms of having to shut the school and what's happening, you've seen some real provision of God and God stepping in to help you to really serve still in this time, haven't you?
Absolutely, and the time that you've had for our young people has just been absolutely precious. So.
Yeah, I think one of the major things, I'm sure you know yourself, you know, you're kind of off your face busy at the moment, and most of the rest of the time, so it's like, without my normal job to do, which is basically around the schools with teachers and stuff like that, it's given me a chance to actually get in and do some teaching. So I've been doing a discipleship course with our older young people on a weekdays, so just over an hour. And the idea really has been to kind of build up their faith and get them into like the Great Commission and understanding what it is, and to develop, to develop an understanding of their faith and church and everything. As you know, it's the kind of classic, it's not a building, it's the people kind of thing. It's been fantastic watching them grow. I'm like, we've had some quite challenging teachings, and they've come back. I was chatting to 2 of them, I know, about a week ago. They said, "Oh, we've got some questions. Can you answer them?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And we must have sat for about 2.5, 3 hours just in one of the classrooms going through the questions that they've got. And they're questions that, like I'm sure lots of people that work with young people, they keep coming back to the same questions very often. But they're saying like they're doing their KCSE, so like you get these questions that are worth like 1 mark each or 4 marks, state 4 things about this, that, and the other. And we're saying, well, or these explain questions, 12 marks. And so, well, if you're doing your exam, which questions would you want to answer? Oh, the state ones, because they're easy and they don't take very long. And I think one of the massive differences for me anyway, apart from actually having the time to prepare this stuff, which has been almost like going back to getting saved again, to be honest, because I've never had that long to really get into the Bible and think about what it's all about, was I said, well, you see the difference between what we've done today. If you come to see me on any other normal weekend afternoon, we would have had a state conversation for about 20 minutes. Yeah. And you'd have left happy because I'd said something to you about it. And I'd have kind of thought, oh, I'm glad they came and asked the questions, but we wouldn't have done any depth, So we basically had an explain type question session for 3 hours that wouldn't ever have been possible before. Wow. I think for me, that's been the biggest upside of all that we've been able to do since we've had the lockdown. But in lots of ways, really, it's like having a chance to do something that we'd always believed in. I'm sure you must have done the roundtable discussions of how we're going to do discipleship, and the 2 biggest things I think really for discipleship that you never have enough of are time and relationships. Yeah. And I think one of the benefits that we've had here is we've been able to spend the time, and that's helped to grow the relationships more. Because then you can go out the other side of it. I think the big difference is it's easy to think about discipleship as a kind of instilling a set of personal disciplines in people, and especially with young people, kind of reminding them the big 3 things they should never think about until they're either married, nearly dead. And so it seems like, you get saved so that you can become this super obedient, not sinning person. But actually, the discipleship so often stops when you think you've got them on a good faith level. You don't actually do the step about thinking, how are you going to get somebody else saved? Because really, that's the fruit of discipleship, isn't it? Disciples make disciples. And I think one of the great problems of discipleship is that you can struggle to find the time to do the now go and make disciples equipping. That's what kind of we're working in towards next, really. So we've done some resources, if anybody's up for looking them up on the internet. It's this great set of teachings from Francis Chan called Basic. That's a really good set of teachings. And there's another set called Greater Than that he did. Yeah. And there's a fantastic set of resources called Christianity Explored.
Love it.
By
I love Christianity.
And we've done all 10 of those. We went right through those and used it as a platform for lots. But they're just spot on, like 15 minutes, really deep, and you can take the kids a long way. And if you do it every day, because I think that's the other thing. You look at the Book of Acts. I don't know if you caught up with Spring Harvest Online at all.
Only a little bit. A lot of people from Riverside did, but obviously I was trying to coordinate other things. But I know Riverside did.
It's like they were called Unleashed, I think, the theme, and obviously they thought about it before all of this nonsense started off. Really, it's like everybody wants to go back to the Acts church, and the great thing that they did, which nobody ever has time to do, is to meet together daily and sit under the apostles' teaching. I wouldn't claim I'm an apostle particularly, but we have sat daily for like 5 days of the week for just over an hour and been under the teaching, and it's made such a difference. Yeah. And I think it's like a call back to thinking, well, what's really important, kind of thing.
That's right. I mean, a friend of mine has a phrase that he says he's really brought back to him about how God keeps something about beating the rush, and beating the rush often means getting there first, but we need to beat the ability to want to rush back to the way we were, because there's a lot of good that's come out of slowing down, not being as busy, actually not being as wrapped up in our personal business or our own busyness, and actually beating that rush to go back to that. And I think it's worked really well. I mean, you talked there about the Acts Church, and what I love about that bit about the Acts Church is they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. Devotion takes time. If you,
That's right.
my dad was
That's-
devoted to his garden. I knew because he spent 6 hours a day digging holes. That's how I knew. It's the time you engage with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we had really precious experience last Sunday, didn't you? That one of the young girls who's lived with us for a long time, very sad story, lots of abuse and rejection, and somebody who struggled with her own temper sometimes, doesn't she? And forgiveness and unforgiveness. And bless her heart, she actually felt she was ready to go to bed on Saturday night, and she just felt God telling her to come and share about the story of Joseph, his brothers. And so she got out of bed again and put up her notes, and Julie came and led that part of your church meeting on Sunday
been
morning.
trying to encourage them really that, you know, like the church is, you know, anybody can bring anything really. And I said, one of the things I really wanted to, one of the ones I really want to encourage with our kids, I said, you know, one of the big problems of church is there just isn't enough heckling, one way or another. We need more heckling in church. So I was busy trying to encourage them. I said, oh, look, on Sunday it's Pentecost, and I'll probably bring something about Pentecost, and I'm expecting heckling. Okay, so it's like, and then we were also going and thinking about church and thinking, well, you know, the whole point is that we come together and we grow together. And if somebody's got a word to bring, and if somebody's got something else to bring, they did. It was great because, as I said, Purity brought this thing about Joseph, and then somebody else had actually been listening to a service on the radio. Guess what the story was?
Joseph.
Joseph.
Wow.
And then the last that was sat next to Proverbs, which was about forgiveness. And it was amazing. It was like watching the whole thing just swim around the room, and I didn't have to say a word. It was great. And it was like, so it's like what we're trying to encourage them to do, so that they learn to feed themselves, you know, because it's like it's so easy to sit back and just, oh, you know, like, feed me kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Wow. I mean, I just love seeing how and just hearing how God's stepping in for you guys. I mean, we're almost out of time. I could listen quite happily to you guys talk for hours about what you're doing. I'm so sorry, but what can we be praying for, and what can we do to keep supporting you over there with Hope and Kindness? What can we pray for, and what can we be practically doing for you guys?
First and foremost, our children who are out there the other side of the gate. Their environment is pretty dire. As I say, you know, we're not talking about no online learning. We're talking about no books, no nothing. We are just out there with the cows all day, fetching firewood and things. So it doesn't take long for them to become discouraged and to lose the hope that they had when they were in a school environment. And we have a lot of young. I suppose we're mostly concerned about the young girls, you know, and we're talking girls as young as 12 and 13. In this environment, I mean, most of them are very, very few have got a father that they're living with. Many of them haven't actually got, it's not a close relative that they actually live with. And so the temptation for them to go with young men. Okay, so the other issue are people, apart from Terry being in that age band, being a vulnerable member of this community.
I'm an old man, really.
We also have a little boy called Sam Jr. who has brittle bones, and his whole physique is very compromised. His breathing is not great at the best of times, so it would be extremely serious if he got it. And we've got quite a few staff members who have serious underlying health conditions, so please continue God's protection over them, and that virus does not reach them.
I think so. I guess one of the things that I've thought about more and more is about the things that God loves and the things that God hates. So if you could pray that we will take them more seriously, especially as we disciple these youngsters. And that really, I'm like, we continue to develop this willingness to actually be in this spiritual battle. It always feels like a battle. It doesn't matter what age group you're working with, but you know, with the youngsters particularly, there are so many challenges for them, and it's been so encouraging seeing them going. So if you could pray for them to continue in their growth and their strengthening their faith, becoming more confident, but also that they're kind of willing to take the fight out, really. I like reading like Lord of the Rings, all of that kind of stuff, and you get these huge, big, like good versus evil battles, and yet so few people think actually if you're a Christian, you're in one. So it's like, could you pray for courage and strength in that particular battle, and for helping all of us, you know, the youngsters, us, our church members, Doreen, our pastor, everybody, our leadership team, and just for the strength to continue with that battle.
Of course we will, and thank you for that. And also, I'm assuming you are taking donations from anyone listening out there. You will gladly receive any support that can come your way. You will gladly be receiving right now.
Yeah. If you go onto our website, hopeandkindness.org, there's a PayPal and on there, which we know works because it's been tested by quite a lot of people just recently. But yeah, no, we want to be able to continue giving that food assistance out.
I mean, and nobody likes to ask for money, and begging is not a great thing. But honestly, I've actually recently been quite moved because we've had some women that we've known in the past in this community who have husbands who are working away in places like Nairobi, but their work has completely gone. So these women, the money they've been depending on has just gone, and literally, you know, it's so humbling to see them have to come and they're actually begging, and it's really hard. I can't imagine what it must be like to be standing on the other side of that and asking. So yes, if anybody's willing to help us, because like I say, that they're actually saying that this virus probably won't peak until August or even September. So chances are our children are going to be out of school for at least another 12 weeks. So there's going to be a lot of people out there still struggling with just eating.
Wow. Well, I want to speak to everyone watching this. We as a church give to Hope and Kindness. We love what they're doing, but we would love it if you would give to them and support them, because they're doing incredible work out there. So please go onto their website, hopeandkindness.org, go to that PayPal section, and please donate, because they rely on donations to do the incredible work they're doing. So please do all you can. And don't forget, it's about praying as well. So please do that too. Terry and Judy, thank you so much for just spending the last half an hour or so with us. Honestly, it's incredible to speak to you. So thank you for all you're doing. Know that we love you. We're praying for you. We will continue to do what we can for you, but thank you for all you're doing, all right?
Well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everybody there at Riverside. Thank you.
Thank you.